Your call.
Mr. Gene Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking this time out of your schedules to share a great announcement with us. We just had an opportunity to speak to the football team. I'm sure Urban will talk about that, and had an opportunity to spend some time with President Gee earlier today. We're really fortunate to have this opportunity to announce our next head football coach at The Ohio State University, Mr. Urban Meyer. I think we all know that Coach Meyer is known for a lot of things. He's a great football coach, but more importantly, he's an outstanding person. He's a great leader in our industry. He's from Ohio, born and raised. And when we went out looking for a football coach, we were particularly looking for an individual that had integrity, that demonstrated outstanding leadership. And when you think of people who understand what leadership is, they're usually those people who have been through a multitude of experiences in their lives as leaders. Urban's background has provided him a unique opportunity to lead different programs in different environments with different cultures. Bowling Green State University, the University of Utah, and the University of Florida. He's also had an opportunity to step away from the game and reflect back on the experiences that he has had to allow him to form the leadership skills that he has today. As you all know, we're the total sum of all of our experiences in life. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the premier leaders in football. Is represented in his record, but more importantly, is represented in him, the man. The other thing we're looking for is someone who is an outstanding coach but outstanding recruiter. Someone who understands that in the state of Ohio, we're blessed to have great high school football coaches. Great high school football coaches who create great programs, who young men have an opportunity to grow in and ultimately dream of the chance to go and play at a collegiate level. We wanted a football coach who understood that, who would create the environment here where the aspiration for every single football player in the state of Ohio is to be a Buckeye and come to The Ohio State University and have no other thought. Being from Ohio, born and raised, having an opportunity to coach here under Earl Bruce, fortunate enough to marry his boss from Ohio, he gets it. At different times in organizations, teams, groups, whatever, there's the right time for certain leaders. This is the right time for Urban Meyer to lead our football program. He brings to our environment an understanding that to be a great leader, you have to implement different styles of leadership seamlessly and in different measure depending upon the business situation. His experiences afford him that opportunity to do that here. We're blessed to have him as our football coach. Let me also take this opportunity to thank Luke Fickell. There is no question, we all know it, that Luke and his staff took on an unbelievable challenge to lead this football program through this particular year at this particular time, and he was the right leader for that time to lead this football program, and I think we all saw it on the field of play. Different situations at different times that he responded. So I want to publicly thank Luke and the staff for taking on the challenge and leading these young men through this challenging season. Coach Fickell will continue to be our coach for the bowl game. He will be the head coach for the bowl game. Coach Meyer will take on the task of forming his staff, putting together his organizational structure that fits his leadership style, and recruiting. But Luke Fickell will be our head coach for the football game. I want to share with you a little information about the process, so I know you have questions on that. Urban and I go back quite a ways and have known each other for a while. Our first conversation about this job was on Sunday, November 20th. There was no previous conversations about this job until Sunday, November 20th. We had a search committee that President Gee formed that included myself, President Gee, Chris Cully, our Vice President and General Counsel, Jeff Kaplan, our Executive Vice President and for Advancement and a Special Assistant to the President, 2 trustees, Alex Shoemate and Robert Schottenstein. I took a slate of candidates to that group to discuss, and ultimately we vetted it down to Urban Meyer being the individual that we wanted to talk to, and I talked to him on November 20th, and ultimately we went to see him on November 23rd and spent time with him. Well, this past yesterday, excuse me, I'm forgetting what day it is. Yesterday, Sunday, we actually presented an offer to Urban Meyer for the job at The Ohio State University, and this morning he accepted it. And that is the process. We're fortunate to have a man who gets it, who has great understanding of the rich history and tradition that is embedded in The Ohio State University and embedded in being a Buckeye. So I want to thank he and his family for taking on this leadership role. Congratulate them for coming home, because at the end of the day, they're coming home to Ohio. Let me introduce to you our head football coach, Urban Meyer.
Thanks, Gene. I am deeply honored and humbled that Dr. Gee, the trustees, and Gene Smith have selected us to lead the Ohio State University football program. It's a great opportunity to come back to my home state, where I was born, where I grew up, where I went to school, met my wife, who was the Miss Junior Ross County Fair Queen or something like that. And Gene says 1983. That's exactly right. I began my college coaching career at Ohio State in 1987, working for Hall of Fame coach Earl Bruce. My relationship with him is extremely close, second only to my father. Every step of my career, every part of my family life, Coach Bruce has always been there. So close that he was gracious enough to speak at my father's funeral just last Friday. I made the decision to step away from coaching a year ago to focus on family and determine if I could someday return to a profession that I love, and I realized I missed so dearly last February. I did that after having an opportunity to work for ESPN, watch my kids compete, and also reflect and research on ways that I could improve. ESPN has been an exceptional experience, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. And if it was but for the coaching position at The Ohio State University, I would not have coached this coming year. I welcome the opportunity once again work with the State of Ohio high school coaches and reestablish the many relationships that I had existed the previous 25 years. Our objective is simple. It's to make, Our objective is simple, to make the state of Ohio proud, recruit student athletes to win in the classroom and win on the field. I'm going to go about and try to assemble the best coaching staff in college football. And our goal is to compete and win Big Ten championships. I'd like to introduce my wife, Shelley, and my son, Nate, my sister, Gisela, Gigi, and my brother-in-law, Jim Esco. Thank you very much, and I'll certainly answer any questions for you.
We'll open it up for questions. Clay?
Coach, Clay Hall, ABC 6, Fox 28, welcome home.
Good to be home.
Given what the program has been through in the last 6 months to a year, what's the biggest need? What's your first job, the on-field product or the conduct or the way this program carries itself off the field?
Well, I don't think it's broke, and I've done a lot of research. I don't think Ohio State's broke. I think there's some obvious mistakes made. On the grand scheme of things, mistakes that are very correctable. My goal right now is to put together a fantastic recruiting class. And I've been very fortunate. If you look back at the last 10 years of being head coach, I've coached with arguably the best group of assistant coaches. A good majority of them have either been head coaches, they are head coaches now. I think Ohio State deserves the best group of assistant coaches in America. Some will be on this staff, some will be from anywhere in the country. The calls I've been getting, the people of interest in this great university is overwhelming. So that's my focus right now. And I just met with a team, had a great team meeting, good-looking group of players. I asked them to play and be respectful of this great school, of the coaching staff, and go out and find a way to win a bowl game. Have good taste in your mouth, and let's start on January 2nd moving forward.
On the right, Kenny.
Kenny Rohde, ESPN Cleveland. Urban, health-wise, how are you? That was part of the reason that you stepped down, and the contract is for 6 years. Are you hoping to fulfill the entire 6 years?
Well, health-wise, I feel great. I had a health scare a couple years ago. It made me sit back, reflect. I didn't feel right, but I feel fantastic now. And I just took that opportunity to do two things. First of all, get my health and get my family. I wanted to go spend time. I missed so much of them growing up. But I also went out and I researched and I spent time with colleagues that I respect in this profession. And I don't want to be one of those guys that's sleeping in the office and say, I miss this, I miss that. And believe it or not, there's a lot of quality coaches out there that are still able to have a little bit of balance. I was proud that I had balance for quite a while. I lost that near the end. So my health is in good shape. I've been checked out over and over again. I feel fantastic, and I'm ready to go.
Left front, Bo.
Urban, Bo Bishop, 10 TV here in Columbus. Did you think, could you even wrap your mind around a year ago that you would be standing here now, and is it surreal that you are?
Well, a year ago, I was, in my mind, I was convinced I was done coaching. You know, I was concerned with health issues, family. I just wanted to be around them. I didn't like the state of college football. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'd hear about all kinds of things going on, and I just didn't want to be a part of that. And then I moved away, went on with ESPN, and did a lot of traveling, spent a lot of time with my kids, and then I didn't realize I'd miss it so bad. And I remember Shelley and I went for a walk one day, and I looked at her, I said, I don't know if I can do this. And she started rolling her eyes at me again, and she's had to deal with me for 22 years, so really 27 years. But I said, I'm going to want to do this again, I bet. I had no idea thinking it was going to be in a year. And certainly Ohio State had a great football coach, the great football program. I mean, if this was the one, then that would be the one. But to answer your question, absolutely zero thought about coaching Ohio State.
Right front, Bill.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch. What are you looking for in a coaching staff, and which of the current staff members are you planning to keep in what role?
That's a great question. I think the first thing you look is at fit, and fit means it's a Midwestern school. It competes in the Big Ten Conference. You're going to have to recruit Ohio and the surrounding areas, so that's critical. Ohio background is key. If you can find guys with any kind of Ohio background. However, I would not put that in front of quality of coach. These players deserve, and the way I do it, if you're the best secondary coach in college football, I'm going to really try to get you to come here and coach at Ohio State. If you're the best offensive line coach, I'm going to do my very best to get you to come here. I was very fortunate in 2005. I know this is a little biased. I think we put together the best coaching staff, group of assistant coaches, maybe in college football history. I know that's a profound statement, but what those guys did, the recruits they brought in, and the run that team went on with the great players, the style of offense, defense, and kicking game, my goal is to find that kind of group of coaches again. Current staff, Luke Fickell is... I met Luke 3 years ago, I believe. He came down. As a matter of fact, it was before we played Ohio State in the 06 game. So it was spring of 06. Luke and Tim Beckman, a former coach of mine who's now at Toledo, obviously, came down. First time I met Luke. I've watched his defenses over the years, have great respect. I know what kind of guy he is. He's an Ohio guy. He's a Buckeye. I knew him from afar. I watched closely how he handled this situation. I thought he's a man's man. Obviously, he's everything that you hope for a Ohio State former player. And then I wanted to research what kind of coach he was, and I did a lot of research. Called some of the colleagues I know that have worked with him. I've watched his film over and over again. That's the greatest thing about coaching. It's very evaluation friendly. And then I needed to meet with him. So last night, Shelley and I, and without asking, he brought his beautiful wife, Amy, and they sat with us for 3, almost 4 hours. And I wanted to do the due process and due diligence, and we said, we'll talk to you. I asked him to come back and have coffee with me at 7 a.m. Shelley and I prayed on it. We talked about it. We took our time. The next morning we woke up. I looked at her again, and she's a better judge of talent than I am, and there's no doubt I wanted him to be a part of this team, and he was very open and shook my hand, a big smile on his face, and we called Miss Amy, and she was great, and she was a very good moment for Ohio State.